Hey everybody, I'm Bob Bakert with Jazz Guitar today, and we're being joined by Ted Ludwig. We're going to talk about his new recording, actually, which is astounding. So, Ted, how are you?
Oh, I'm doing great, Bob. It's really doing great.
Ted and I just got finished going through a whole technical problem with getting this Zoom call to work, so we're a little bit toasty going in. I think the first thing I want to acknowledge is the passing of Ken Parker.
Yes, huge loss for the guitar world.
It really is. You can't really overstate that. The guy. I posted a bunch of stuff about it. I had some pictures of him and Linda together at the Rocky Mountain Arch Festival. I think you saw that, didn't you?
Oh yeah, I
You
did.
go on my Facebook page, and actually, it's on the Jazz Guitar Today Facebook page as well. Um, anyway, I would say a moment of silence for Ken, but I've been silent for him for a day and a half now. So um,
He
that
was a big time innovator. He really took the guitar in a whole new direction.
well, the original Parker Fly. I don't know if you've ever seen the video on how he came up with that thing and what he did and all the technologies involved with it was an astounding achievement. Um, and then when I played his arch top for the first time at the Rocky Mountain Arch Top Festival, I was playing it through an amp. Um, I never heard anything like that before. And to be fair to the other archtop builders that are out there, it is not an instrument to go and gig with an organ player and a drum set, or even a couple of guitars. It's meant to be played solo, I believe.
I
I mean,
agree.
it's got the biggest sound I've ever heard. The bass was, I likened it to a Bosendorfer piano. I mean, if you put that thing in your hands and you played it, it had sound for days. Where archtop guitars are never meant to be that. They have a bandwidth that they sit in to fit in with a band.
Hmm.
And this instrument, the bandwidth is from low to high, and it's got nothing to do with the actual fundamental of the note. It has to do with the overtone series that it created in both directions.
Hmm.
It was
Exactly.
it was
His instruments really were great for solo playing and especially fingerstyle playing as
right.
well. They really worked well for that.
No,
They weren't the sort of focused tone like you would think like a D'Angelico or an old Gibson or those
no,
types of sound. That's not what Ken was going for.
no. It's not an orchestral instrument. It's not a band instrument. It's not a. I mean, any of the great arch tops that we think of today, the Wes Montgomery-ish, uh, all the tones that basically derive from people like that, and all the people that we follow, like Barney and all the greats. That's all. That's a whole different kind of instrument. We all know who the great builders are. Um, and you certainly do. You're involved with a ton of them. Well, let's get to your record because first of all, I want you to tell people the name of it.
Well, I have a new record that's out. It came out this past April, sort of a soft introduction, and then we released the entire record. It's called Essential Jazz Guitar, Ted Ludwig Essential Jazz Guitar, and I recorded this in Nashville with Burton Avenue Music. And I was really excited because on the record on drums I had Danny Gottlieb and
For people that don't know, tell them a little bit who Danny played with, where he came from.
well, Danny was the, founding member and drummer of the Pat Metheny group. He also was in the Mahavishnu Orchestra, with John McLaughlin. He also was in a very well-known group with Gary Burton in
Right,
the 70s, which also included Pat Metheny.
right.
And then beyond, he's done so much. Has played
Sure.
with kind of
And
a who's
then
who It was with Randy Brecker for a while, doing a project with Randy Brecker and Stan Getz, and then he more recently he plays in the Lieutenant Dan band, which is Gary Sinise's Wounded Warrior project. So Danny's doing that. So Danny plays on this record. And then his great pianist named Pat Coyle. And Pat's a Nashville-based pianist, but he actually has some ties to the Matheny group as well because he was roommates with Lyle Mays
Mhm.
in college, and so he and Lyle were really close friends, and he's a really wonderful pianist. He's on the record.
Well, let me
Uh,
just let me just go. Let me just say a little more about him, if you don't mind. So he toured with now. Larry Goldings tours with a lot of people, and he obviously can play anything he wants. But Pat Coyle has toured with Amy Grant, Vince Gill, Michael McDonald, Larry
yes.
Carlton, Olivia Newton-John, for
Oh
Christ.
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I mean the guy. I mean,
Oh yeah.
I mean his. If you just, yeah, he's definitely a heavyweight. There's no
He's
question
a he's
about
a
it.
heavyweight, beautiful player.
Yeah, it's
And
great.
he was, I mean, most notably, he really was. He was with Michael McDonald for a
Right,
while. Has been Michael McDonald's keyboard player, even though Michael does play keyboards himself.
right,
But and then he's played with everyone as well. He's done a lot of recordings.
right. No, he's
So
yeah, he's the guy, one of the guys in Nashville. I mean, he's
yeah, and I work. In fact, I just worked with him this past weekend. I on Friday I played a gig in Nashville with Pat, and it
yeah.
was fantastic. And then Joel Fromm is on tenor saxophone. And if anyone hasn't heard Joel, man, he's one of the best players in the world, and he's just really incredible.
He really is amazing. I had an opportunity to hear him a couple times live when he was touring with some folks that came through. Yeah, he's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
And then on bass,
On bass, we have Jacob Jezero. He's a young guy. His father is the actual producer for Burton Avenue Records, and he's a really fine young bass player. I shouldn't say young. He plays like a very well established musician, but he's in his late 20s, and he's a very good player. And real melodic, and very lyrical type of bass
oh
player.
yeah, he's wonderful. Yeah, I mean, there's no
So that was the band, and then of course I was on guitar. So it was nice to bring um, a combination of some standards and some jazz tunes that are kind of staples, and then also a few originals and some songs that were maybe a little more obscure, but there's a lot of familiarity on this record, Essential Jazz Guitar.
um. So I I listened to it, all the tracks that you sent me, and I was very excited for you on this project. I really was. Um, I I don't even know where I really don't even know how to begin to explain to people what this record is. First of all the players are A players. They obviously play together amazingly well. The arrangements are very cool. But and so everybody individually is amazing. So you can just tune in the drum track and go, it's a clinic. The keyboard track's a clinic. The bass player, young guy, but man, he plays great. But you're playing, I don't even know. I mean, I'm always coming on here and more astonished by one guy than but it was astonishing what you did in that record. It was, you truly have your own voice. The approach to the music was original, even the tunes that people would be familiar with. Everything was extremely original in its approach. And your playing is just it's just nothing short of phenomenal. I mean, I love your tone. You got a little bit of this guy, a little bit of that guy, and a little bit of this guy as your influences, and I want to talk about that in a minute. But you're definitely your own voice. I mean, for sure, you're your own voice. and you snuck in a whole lot of little lines, everywhere, like a horn player would, play a fill, or like a drummer would play a fill, in places that I just didn't expect it to be there, and um, and you added a little bit of, solo guitar. I mean, it's a whole bunch of everything that's going on in there. And what I listen to when I'm hearing people play, especially a lot of the extended lines that you played, is time and meter and connectedness, and the tone doesn't change from one note to the next, or from one phrase to the next. It stays in there as a moving ship on a sea, if you will. You're not,
Hmm.
it's not it's not a monotone by any stretch of imagination at all. It comes and goes. It's got dynamics and everything, but it's just a phenomenal record, Ted. It really is. It's a
Well,
phenomenal
thank you.
record. Um,
I really appreciate it. Yeah, it's on we're we're marketing it on Spotify, and then pretty much most of the like Apple Music and any place that you would buy records, it's there.
yeah, it's definitely got a it it's I'm trying to figure out a way to put it. It's it's got the flavor of the old school, but it's not old school. You know what I mean? But it's
Yeah.
got that flavor. Like we've listened to a bunch of records recently where it's obvious that the guy is, and they're all fantastic players, but they're stretching into something new. But I mean, you got to want to go there with them. Whereas
Hmm.
this recording, people that love jazz guitar, the traditional jazz guitar, and it's not a traditional jazz guitar record, but it's a beautiful step forward in the tradition. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of one of the things that I was going for. Well, first of all, I have to give kudos to Jack Jezero, who is the producer on this, because he had a vision on this, and as an artist, you sometimes fight that, but he really understands the sort of guidelines to how you should do a record, and one of the things is that he was like, I mean, as an artist and a person who likes to play, long solos, or I mean, not necessarily all long, but likes to stretch things out. You have to really be selective on who plays on every tune, and or who plays on what tunes, and how you're going to present the music, because you want the music to be short enough where you're going to get some airtime, where it's going to get played and picked up on different playlists and so forth. And if
Right.
it's over like 5.5 minutes long or so, even 5 minutes is probably better. Then it's you're going to have a hard time making those playlists, and
Right.
and that's when your tunes get on playlists. That's when you get a lot of listens. You get a lot of viewers. I shouldn't say viewers, but listeners.
Listeners, yeah.
Streams.
Yeah. Well, he did a great job.
Thank you. Yeah, and as
Yeah.
far as far as the style, I mean, like I came up with some arrangements, and then I just wanted the guys to be the guys. I mean, when you're playing with guys on that caliber, you just you just kind of let them do their thing. They're going to bring their thing to the music, their signature.
Right.
And that's that's kind of what we did. Many of those takes that you heard were done in 1 to 2 takes at the most.
Um, I'm that does not surprise me, because I know in my own little world of what I do that, if I don't get it within the acting world, if I don't get it in two or three takes, it's just going to get worse.
Yeah.
Just doesn't, you don't get that. I mean, the first take sometimes doesn't hit it, but the second one or third one usually always does.
Hmm.
And but the first one, that's why they always say, well, let's run a rehearsal on this tune. I mean, on this scene, and I go, oh, please don't. Just you know, make sure
Yeah.
make sure the camera's rolling, because I have enough music recording experience to know that sometimes the best stuff just comes out that very first time.
that spontaneity of it,
Yeah,
just flow, first and second take, and that's how that record was. It was
yeah.
made pretty much everything was first and second takes.
So, um, how long did it take you to put that together?
Well, we recorded it over, I think, maybe 2 or 3 days,
Hmm.
something like that.
There's a lot of tunes on it.
Yes, because the tunes are all, I mean, there's a couple of tunes that are a little longer, but the majority of the tunes are in that 5 minute, 5 to 6 minute range, so that, when you want to present, I try to present with a record about an hour of music,
Right.
and so, yeah, we did 12 cuts.
Well, it sounds great. Let's move on a little bit here.
Sure.
Uh, you're talking about essential jazz organ quartet. We got a little list here of things we want to make sure we cover.
Sure.
You mentioned organ quartet two performances. What is that all about, Ted?
So I started a record last year with I wanted to do a record with Pat Bianchi, the
Oh,
great
right,
organ
yeah,
player who was Pat Martino's organist, and
right.
we played some gigs together, and I thought musically really hit it off. So I did a session last year with him, and then I did a session about 3 weeks ago with him. And on the first session, it was on drums. I had the great Ulysses Owens Jr. Played on that one, and then on the second session, I had on drums. I had this guy Stephen Pruitt, who's out of Oklahoma City. He's a
Right.
great drummer. He plays with Mike Stern's band, and he plays with um, Oz Noy and a bunch of other people. He plays with Eddie Gomez's group, and so he's not that far away. So he came over and we did a gig in Memphis, a gig in Little Rock. He's come over and done gigs in Nashville with me, and then we recorded that group, which was Jerry Weldon on tenor sax. He played on some of the cuts, and then Stephen Pruitt on drums. And then on the first session, I had Paul Carr, a very dear friend of mine from the DC area. He played on the first session. So it's a really like 2 sessions, and it's going to be approximately 9 tunes. Some of them are a little longer than the Essential Jazz Guitar record.
Yeah, I love Pat's playing. I did get to I actually interviewed Pat at one time. Uh I saw him close and personal in a club in Atlanta here called the Velvet Note when Pat Martino came. Pat was still playing with him at that point, and just a unbelievably great player, you know,
Yes.
and certainly knows his thing. And the thing about your playing is that what I mentioned earlier, your linear stuff is so spot on it rhythmically because Pat was his own drummer, really. I mean, you
Yeah.
know, and but you have that same quality in your playing, so I can see where Pat Martino, I mean, well, Pat Bianchi would you guys would really hit it off really, really well.
Yeah, we hit and Pat's the type of organ player where he can go in that sort of Jimmy Smith direction,
Yeah.
and give you that classic, Jimmy Smith, Wes Montgomery type vibe, or he can go into a more modern vibe, and do that, like what more of the modern organ players are doing, people like Larry Goldings and those types of players. So he and Larry are two of my favorite organ players, and they both kind of have those qualities about him. But Pat Bianchi's really, I mean, he's definitely stepped up as being one of the top organists in the world,
Oh
and
yeah.
really lucky to get to play with him and to play with him on the the frequency that I do.
No, I mean I think so what tunes did you put on that record?
Well, okay, so I have 3 original tunes on that one. Um, I have a tune by my teacher Steve Mazakowski that I recorded on that one, and then I did let's see, I did a Dexter Gordon tune called Cheesecake. We did that. The beautiful ballad, "What Are You Doing for the Rest of Your Life?" The Michel Legrand tune, which is
Hmm.
really a beautiful piece. That's kind of a nice feature for me. We did some standards. I did the tune called "On a Misty Night,"
Yeah,
which is a very beautiful standard, and a nice blues. We have a nice blues on there by Cedar Walton called Cedar's Blues, and like I said, like three originals. Then we have a kind of more of a Latin feel tune as well. So
right. Uh,
yeah.
that's tremendous. I mean, I'm looking forward to hearing that because I I there's a lot of guys that I think your take on Pat Martino's playing would be really interesting to hear. Uh,
I actually recorded on that record. I recorded "The Visit," which
ah,
is one of is a famous. It was a tune that Pat wrote. He composed it after I shouldn't say wrote. He composed after a visit with his hero Wes Montgomery. So he went to visit with Wes, and I guess they got together and played, hung out a bit, and he was inspired and went back home and composed "The Visit." And so I put that on the record because, well, of course, you got Pat Bianchi there, so we got to take advantage of things, and it's a little homage to Pat Martino.
well, I look forward to hearing that. I'm sure it's great. You've got a bunch of. I'm moving along here. You have a lot of TrueFire courses.
I have 9 so far.
Yeah, well, that's a lot.
Yeah, it's a few.
Yeah, that's
You
a
know,
lot.
I've said a few things. Yeah.
You have some titles that you could give us?
Well, I can tell you all of them. The first True Fire course I did, which I think is still the most popular, is called Jazz H2O,
Yeah,
which was kind of a larger course, and it's sort of just a broad sort of overview of the important things to sort of play in a similar style to where I come from.
right,
It's not designed to make anybody sound just like me or just like any particular player,
right.
but it's just sort of like these are sort of the things that I find important, and it takes you through that. I have a one called the comping handbook, the jazz comping handbook, and it's a study on comping, chord voicings, and I take you through sort of a historical, like from early types of comping to Freddie Green style, big band stabs into more modern comping, walking bass line, since I do play 7 string, although I didn't record this on a 7, but walking bass lines and comping, things that you're going to need on gigs, how to comp for yourself. Like we take a tune and I'll play a melody and comp for myself while I'm in and out of playing solos or playing melodies. All of these things are part of comping or accompanying.
Right.
So there's that. There's a course called From Blues to Bop, which
I
is great.
I
It
love
was
that.
one that I came up with this course based on that. I was hearing from guys who were like, "Hey, man, I can play." I get feedback, and people would say, "Well," some of the students would say, I can play some blues. I'm learning to play blues, or I can play blues pretty well. How do I get into jazz?" And so
Right.
I took that angle from on the blues to bop course. Sort of somebody has, basic understanding of how to play blues. How do we use that to translate into moving into the jazz idiom? So we work through different types of blues, and at the end, by the end of it, you learn how to play rhythm changes. You learn how to play Charlie Parker blues, like a blues for Alice type of blues. You learn how to play just blues in three. We learn how to play just different things about that, but using the blues as a tool to learn to play swing and jazz and so forth.
Yeah, there's
And
a bunch of them.
there's
You got Guitar Heroes improvising jazz changes.
that's yeah, and the Guitar Heroes is just they asked me to select 6 of my favorite guitar heroes and sort of do a brief discussion and show a few things of how that player's influenced me. Yeah, and then like yeah, there's more. There's plenty more.
Well, yeah, though, I know. I mean, it's. I mean, you're obviously a prolific, a prolific author as well. I mean, I mean, so that's it's a lot, and people. Some people understand it, but people don't realize what it takes to put together something like that.
You're absolutely right. It's you have to really you have to plan it. I've had people say, "I want to get on TrueFire," and I'm like, "Okay, well, this is what you have to sort of expect. You have to create." And we all know our good friend Corey Christiansen. Corey taught me something a long time ago, and Corey, if you see this interview, thank you for this. But what he told me is anytime because he was working for Mel Bay at the time. And he
Right,
was like, the most important thing is to get a good table of contents.
right,
Before you put any content down, you create a table of contents and you make sure you're happy with that. Hey, I'm going to present this at point A, point B, point C, and how are they going to connect to each other.
right.
So by the end, and then you stick to that table of contents. That was another thing he told me. And that was when, because he was working for Mel Bay and I was doing a few things for them, not a book, but I was doing some online things for them. And he
Right.
was like, stick to to those points. And it proved to be very, very helpful. So, that's the
You,
same thing you do for TrueFire.
yeah, Corey was an incredibly successful author for them for like a long, long time. I
Hmm.
mean, I got a bunch of Corey books, from like, I mean, he's a young guy. I mean, he's probably, I guess you guys are contemporaries in age.
We're probably fairly close in
Yeah,
age. We
fairly
might
close.
be, yeah, we're pretty close. Yeah, I think so.
I still have probably in the other room, I probably still have three or four of his books, in the style of, he did a bunch of that stuff for
Yeah,
Mel.
he did a bunch. And so my courses, I laid them out the same. So what you do is you have to lay out sort of what your master class is going to be
Right,
like that. And then you have to go in the studio and you have to figure out like what are your backing tracks going to be? And I go in with a trio and we lay down all the backing tracks. And then, so when I go into TrueFire and, to their studio in Florida, you have to have all of that mapped out. So, hey, I'm going to discuss this topic and this is what I'm going to perform this on, and it's already recorded and done.
and people, here's another thing. There's a real skill that people don't understand that when you hear somebody like yourself teaching on, in front of the microphone and all that, and you hear a concise presentation of the material, that that's huge. I mean,
Yes.
and if you want to prove it to yourself, get your iPhone out and stick it in front of you, and then, I mean, not you, I'm talking about the people out there, and then try to teach somebody how to play anything and listen to yourself fumble all over your words and so to get the skill to concisely transfer information in video so that people will find it compelling and watchable, it's not an easy set of skills to put together, and you do it quite well. So it's
Well, thank you.
and if you
Thank
didn't
you.
do it well, they wouldn't keep asking you back to do more and more and more. So, I and obviously your material is just fantastic. Um, so I want to talk. I want to go a little bit out of sequence here. Seven string guitar. Um, you only play seven string guitar.
Yeah, I mean, I started off as a six-string player,
Mhm.
just like most guys, and I grew up in New Orleans, which is
Right.
my hometown. I don't live there anymore, unfortunately, but I grew up there, and so you had this like heritage, this like history of seven string. Of course, Steve Mazakowski. He has always been known as a seven string player. Steve was my teacher. Hank Mackey switched over to seven string. The guitar maker who was in New Orleans and was like a father to me was Jimmy Foster. He was a really fine chord melody seven string player, great seven string player,
Mhm.
especially for solo playing. And
Right.
of course, Ron Estes is originally from New Orleans, and Ron was is a seven string player. So all of those were influences on me. My dad grew up with Ron, so when I started getting into jazz guitar, Ron would say, he called me T. He's like, T, when you're developing, get a seven. When you develop and develop on a seven. And he showed me some things that were invaluable. Of course, my mentor, Steve Mazakowski, he played seven, and man, I wanted to be like Steve. I just loved the smoothness of his lines and his
Yeah.
chops and his just incredible harmonic sense. And I mean, I still strive to, Steve is one of the greatest. And then Hank Mackey was a really great teacher, and he's a really wonderful player too, and he's a great seven string player. So yeah, I mean, and then Jimmy was like, I needed a guitar, and I didn't really have the money to buy a guitar. I was gonna maybe get a Heritage or something, save up, and Hank Mackey took me over to Jimmy's shop, and Jimmy was like, I want to build you a guitar, and I was like, well. That's fine and dandy, but I don't have like 8 or 10 grand, And he
Right.
was like,
Yeah.
well, I'm going to make it affordable.
Oh,
And he did. I'm not going to repeat what he built the guitar for me,
yeah.
but it was something that I could do, I could handle. And he says, whatever you want to pay a month, just pay me something every month.
Right.
Once if it was $100, it was $100. It was $1,000. It was about whatever it was.
Whatever you
It was
have.
a small amount. It let me chip away and get the instrument, and he let me have it and take it out and play it. And then he told me, he goes, "Well, do you want a six or a seven?" And I said, at the time, I still wasn't 100% sure. And he says, "Well, I tell you what. If you get a seven, I'm going to charge you this price. If you want a six, it's another $2,000 more." I said, I said, well, a seven it will be. Let's go with a seven.
Yeah, that's a hard choice. I think he pushed you in a direction. What do you think?
Well, he saw potential in me, and he
Right.
saw that the seven string would be something that would enhance my playing.
Is your low string an A or a B?
An A.
An A. Okay.
Mhm.
So people that don't know seven string, we've talked about this before, that you just move your finger up a couple, another half inch, and you're on the same note that you would have been if you played it on the A string.
That's correct. It's just your A string repeated
Yeah.
down an octave, and
And
that's the
so,
way George Van Epps had
yeah,
originally done it.
yeah,
That's
it
the way
makes,
Bucky and John and all of the great seven string, Jimmy Bruno. That's how all of those guys, played. Of course, Jimmy's one of my dearest friends, Jimmy Bruno.
right.
And he played it that way, and so and Howard Alden's a very dear friend, and really one of the real guiding lights of the seven string.
What's really funny about that is anytime I ever have one of those things in my hand, I just, I like, it was, I couldn't figure the damn thing out because I, for some reason, thought it was most of them were a B note. And then when I learned it was an A note, then everything kind of came into,
Started to make more sense.
yeah, it was, well, it's just easier. I didn't, I was going, well, what, no, what, blah, blah, blah. And, but obviously I've never spent a lot of time with it, but, um, are you are you using that low string very much when you're playing, with Pat and those guys? I mean, how do you?
Well, see, that's the thing. I'm not like now. There are some guys who are more like solo players. I
Right,
mean, the majority of their stuff is solo, so
right,
they're using it all the time for that. But I get hired a lot to play with bands. I do solo gigs as well. I have a wide variety of types of gigs. I do duets.
right,
So I have, I do duets with horn players quite a bit. And when I'm doing that, or I do a duet with my wife, Lenore, we have a thing we do. In fact, we just were in Denver last week doing a duo gig out there. Um, and when I'm doing that, I use the seven string all the time. I'm
yeah.
constantly moving the bass around constantly. Yeah, but when you're playing with a bass player, you just have to stay out of their way. And so and it doesn't really sound good to go into that range
No,
when you're kind of traipsing right where they need to
I
be,
mean
and their sound's fuller anyway on the
you got to
seven.
stay up really off of your regular A string most of the time. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, I play more like traditional. I mean, like
yeah,
thinking more like rootless voicings and things like that to begin
right,
with.
yeah.
When I'm
Um,
playing with a bass player in particular, But there, or an organ player, if he's walking bass, I'm not touching that seven string. Mainly, I'll use it for introductions when I'm playing with that sort of, if I have to do a solo piece,
Sure.
or when I'm playing like duets, and I have to manage the whole, keep everything together as far as time wise. Then it's nice to have.
Let's talk a little bit about your influences just for a few minutes. We sort of touched on them, but obviously Steve Mazikowski is a mentor of yours.
Huge,
Yeah,
yes,
and I mean, I saw him play, and I heard him play, saw him play up close and personal. And when you the Velvet Notes, a club in Atlanta that had a pretty good group of jazz players come in for a long time. Now they're kind of all over the place. They bring in jazz, they bring in R&B, they bring in a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and everything. But I did see Steve, and I'm sitting, 10 feet away from him. I mean, it's not like, like your normal. I mean, you're like right there.
sure.
And I just went, ooh, okay. 'Cause I didn't know who he was. I mean, I don't, this is probably 8 years ago, maybe.
Yes,
Um,
Steve was like, he was great, man. I cherish all my time studying with Steve and also with Hank Mackey. They were both like fathers to me, and really took me under their wing, and yeah.
so of players that are more in the I don't want to say well known, better known, whatever you want to call it. Who would those people be that you have drawn
Oh,
from?
there's a bunch. I mean, the first person that I have to mention in this particular record is when I heard Joe Pass for Django
Oh
record.
yeah,
I that was like I was like, that is it. That is that's it. I want to do that, and even though I branched off into my own style, that's just the way he goes between. I actually thought he on that record. I didn't realize it was John Pisano comping. I thought Joe was actually playing and putting the comping in. So I was copying it as if like
yeah,
I had to do the comping myself. I was like, man, Joe's keeping all of this up. And I didn't even realize till like years later,
two
because my
guys,
first my first collection, my first time getting that record, was made on a tape for me. Hank made a tape of that record, and I was just like, oh man! As soon as I heard it, I said, this is it. So Joe Pass was, and still is, a huge influence.
yeah,
When I heard Wes Montgomery, that was a big one. Grant Green's, even today, I mean, I still love to listen to Grant Green and transcribe Grant Green. And then Jim Hall. Jim Hall became a big one because at first, when I first got into jazz guitar, I was more into, busier, more notey players, Pat Martino and Joe Pass. But when I heard Jim Hall, that was a big one for me. So and then of course Pat Martino, Pat Metheny. I really love Pat Metheny. But I like, I've always gravitated to more musical players
right.
and less like choppy players. I was never into, guys that were just really fast for fast sake. I loved Barney. Jimmy Rainey is another one, but
Right.
those were all like and of course Kenny Burrell. But those were like all had some sort of influence on me. But as far as more current players, I mean, to me, I mean, for straight ahead jazz guitar, to me, the guiding light is Peter Bernstein. I mean, like when I heard him live for the first time, I just could not believe how somebody could deliver a melody so powerfully. And so Bernstein's always, and he's a very dear friend, but has always been a huge influence. And so
He was on with Frank Vignola and Pasquale Grasso a few weeks back. The guitar night at Birdland,
mhm.
and it was. I mean, it was just he's just he's he's a force. I mean, he is a force.
Yeah, he's just what he comes up with. And then
It's
of course I really like Jesse Van Ruler. He's a really great Dutch player that I like. Of course, I mean, I know a lot of straight ahead guys are not as much into the modern players, but I love Kurt Rosenwinkel. I mean,
oh yeah, I
I
do
just
too.
think he is just I mean, you can't. I mean,
Yeah, no, I love Kurt.
he's such a genius.
You know, I when we started the magazine, he was the guy I wanted to be the first cover
Yeah,
because I was just such an admirer of what he did and still am, and he's such a nice guy too.
yeah, he is.
You know, but he's yeah, he's phenomenal. I mean, it's amazing what he pulls off and how he does it. Peter Bernstein, how he pulls it off, and you know what he does. All these guys are just you know who else I like to listen to is Ulf.
Ulf Arcanius. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Ulf's great.
I mean, cause obviously he took Joe's, Joe's job, or not, he didn't take Joe's job, but
Well, he's definitely got a Pat Martino
yeah,
sort of thing happening.
I mean, I gotta tell you, his time, yeah, he's got that Pat Martino. It's the time. It's like, I can never keep in my mind the drummer that played with Pat, for the last 8 or 9 years. I know I've asked it a million times. I've asked Joe
That
D'Onofrio.
would be a good question for Pat Bianchi. He would know.
Yeah, no, but well, I saw those guys play, and I mean, yeah, I could find it online, I'm sure, and I hate it because I keep forgetting it. I keep asking about it. But I remember seeing him perform with Pat, and he came up to the bar during the break, and I said to him, I said, "You got your hands full, don't you?" Because Pat, and I've said this before on the channel that Pat Martino played through a 412 Marshall cabinet a lot.
He was, and in fact, when I played and recorded with Pat Bianchi it was about 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
That was one of the things he said. He goes, "Man," he goes, "you have no idea how loud Martino played."
It was loud, and not only that, it wasn't not only loud, but his because he used thick strings like you do, but that guitar that he plays, that Benedetto guitar that he played, with the strings that he used in a 412 cabinet, I mean his notes were like a kick drum with pitch. I mean it just it he moved those cabinets moved a lot of air, and he played loud. I mean,
Yes,
that was a rocking band. I mean, the three of them would and there was no, you know how he was. He made no excuses about anything. He just you know downbeat go. And it was pretty amazing. Um, Future projects. Let's talk about that for a minute or two.
Um, yeah, so I'm always working on. I mean, I'm always working on new ideas for records. I have some new things. I've been writing some new tunes, um, but I mean, I don't want to really reveal too much just because I don't have I mean, not till I get all my ducks in a row, but yeah, I have a few ideas of some. I want to do a duet project, a duo guitar project with someone. I'm not going to announce yet because I want to make sure all the ducks are in a row before I make that statement. And of course, I'm one of the big things is just trying to market the new record and to start getting some tours from it, with the
Oh,
the
I hope
record.
you
Yeah,
do. I mean, I really hope you do. I hope you I hope you get out there and bring take it to some towns and let people hear that
yeah,
beat because getting before we close up for the day. I was I I wanted to talk a little bit about your instruments that you're playing.
sure,
Um, let's go there and then we'll talk about the tour. Okay.
sure.
So I know that you've got pretty close relationships with a bunch of builders.
I do, and it's kind of unique because I do play several different makers' guitars, you know, and
Well,
that's
yeah, I mean, this clarify this for people. We're not talking about. I mean, all the guitars that you have are that you play are one-off. instruments built by a guy or
Yes.
a girl in the case of Linda, or
Yeah.
woman, I should say. Um, they're all artisan built one at a time by that person. So, Wyatt, why don't you talk about your guitars a little bit?
Well, so I have four guitars that I'm actively using right now. And I'll talk about all of them. I have well, since we mentioned Linda, Linda Manzer, I mean, I can't tell you how much I love her guitars. And, I have one of her Jazz Cats, 7 string Jazz Cat guitar. Um, which if you've heard me, you've heard that guitar. In fact, the Essential Jazz Guitar record, the entire record is recorded. With the exception of the solo piece, the entire record is recorded on that guitar.
Wow.
That's the Manzer, yes. And it's got a floating pickup. Amazing instrument. And I consider Linda to be, in the highest elite makers in the world.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
she's in a, I mean, there are what do they call it? Something about I can't remember there's a term for the there's like the top people, but they're all equal peers,
yes.
they're
So Linda, I have one of her guitars. I play another guitar that I play is I have a beautiful guitar that I've been having for about a year from Wyatt Wilkie. It's one of his Paramount guitars that he custom built for me with it's a 7 string. It's his Paramount Elite model, and it is really special. It's got a built-in pickup, so it really is a great choice. Like if you're playing with an organ trio or something along that line, a
right.
little louder situation. Tom Rebecki, I have a beautiful Rebecki Monterey. That is like the ultimate guitar for solo and for like duets. It really is a great guitar that I love to play with my wife when I'm doing duets with her. I'll use the Manzer or I'll use the Rebecki. It's a really great guitar. And then I also have this really amazing Mirabella. It's the Chris Mirabella. It's called a Crossfire New Yorker Classic, and it's actually it's a New Yorker special, and it's really amazing. And that guitar is a little different sound than what I get from the Manzer. It's a floating pickup, but it's got this more of a focused sound. It's a different sound. It's a little different. So
Right.
it,
No,
it just gives.
I played the both of those guitars. I played his, not yours, but I played, at the Rocky Mountain Archtop Festival. I played all, Linda's guitars. I played, Chris's guitar. I played them.
Yeah,
I know what you're
Linda's
talking
a
about.
Linda's a little more airy, a little bit more, have that. There's something about the sweetness and the transparency of the sound of her guitar. But Chris's guitar's got a beautiful sound as well. It's just different.
Right.
I really put it like this. It's like Chris's guitar is a little more of a masculine sound. Linda's guitar is a little more of a feminine sound. I hate to use that term, but it
No,
is
but
that it
it's
comes through.
the mid range of his guitar is more focused than
Yeah.
and Linda's guitars are more of a broad, it's a little bit broader spectrum. They're both great, but they have very specific jobs. The louder you go with the more instruments in the band, the more that you have to find a specific band pass that you can fit in, and that's where Christian's guitar would excel.
Yeah, and I love his guitar for like a quartet, with a
Yeah.
horn player. I also, I mean, the Wilkie, all of them are just great. I mean, that's the thing.
You got a tough choice. Do I drive the Ferrari or the Lamborghini today? Or maybe I should take the Aston Martin or I mean you got a bunch of tough choices. You got
I know, and but they all are a little
I
different,
know.
and I mean, the
I'm
thing
looking at
is I
one,
still
two.
sound like myself through them. People say, "Man, you still sound like you," and that's they're tools, but they're
Yeah.
paintbrushes. But I'm just I'm fortunate to have great relationships with these makers,
Right.
and I send them a lot of business because I have a lot of students, so I
Yep.
send them a lot of business. So it's a nice it's a nice relationship with everybody.
What strings do you use?
I'll tell you exactly. I just got some today. It just came in. I use the Tomastic um, Bebop 13 through 53. And then on the seventh string, I use a Diodario 74. And that's pretty much it. And, and
It's the strings pretty close to the board.
not too close. I don't like it super high, but I like it high enough to where I can dig into it.
Yeah, where you can
But
get
it's definitely, I wouldn't say my action's low.
it's so you can get the percussiveness out of each note.
Yeah, I mean, I drive the string. I use these picks. These are the picks I use. These are Pick Boy and Jazz 1.5.
Yeah,
Just got a pack of those in today too.
I've got this thing here is like a I think this is a two, and
Two, uh-huh.
I've got a 1.5 and a one, and all that. Yeah, you can to get that top moving, you got to hit it pretty hard, you know.
Yeah, you got to have you don't want a flimsy pick. But
Yeah,
I love the Tomastic. Some people don't like the gauging, but I actually do. I like that because they're from they're low four strings. The four wound strings are more like a set of 12s, and then the top two strings are more like a set of 13s.
right.
So that's kind of how they're gauged. Some people, like I was talking to Jimmy Bruno about that, and he doesn't like that gauging, and I don't know if he likes the alloys. The alloy's different than, like, say, what your average, like, say, Diodario or Labella string. The alloy's a little different that they make the Tomastics with.
Uh,
But I've gotten used to them and I love them.
they're a hard habit to break. If
The
you
Tomastics.
Yeah, if you got they're a little more expensive than everything else out there.
They run about, well, I mean, you can get them on Amazon for about 27 bucks a set, which is not, it hasn't gone up that much.
No,
Um, you know, um,
it's a far
but
cry from $5 for a set of Ernie Ball nines, though. It's
yeah, yeah, no, it's not that. You definitely won't. But, my wife's a violinist, and her strings, I mean, the strings for violin, it's like, for four strings, they're like $130. She uses a Tomastic string as well. It's a different name. They call pies, Peter Infeld, PI.
yeah.
And so they're the pie strings, and those are really expensive. So when she changes her strings, it's like, I mean, she does it a couple times a year. It's like I mean, it's a little bit of a financial commitment. Whereas when I hear somebody saying, "Man, I got to pay 27 bucks for a set," that's nothing. Come on, you know.
If you're a professional and you're out there playing a lot, and you're gigging a lot, you can't bitch about $27 for a set.
Yeah, and they last a long time. I mean,
They
I
do.
change my strings usually every season.
You using rounds or flats?
I use the rounds. So the bebops are the rounds. The flats are called a swing series, and then they have a special edition that is a George Benson set, which are also very nice. And they make them in a flat and a round wound.
Right,
It's just that the George Benson's they're actually gauged more like a traditional set. They're gauged more like if you look at a set of 12s, they're gauged kind of like your typical set of 12s. So
right.
they're gauged more like a 12 across the board.
Well, I'm going to confess to you that I'm looking at six guitars that are within, well, there's three right here within a couple of feet, and then there's within 8 feet of me is two more, two arch tops, and then there's another Stratocaster style guitar over there, and um, the guitar because I don't gig out anymore. I mean, rarely, and the guitar that I sit and play all the time is strung up with nines, and
Yeah, I can't play. I'm so used to the
but
heavier string.
here's the thing. I can't take those guitars to a gig. I have to use like 11s or something, at least 11s or more, because on the gig they don't create any sound, and my adrenaline is higher. I'm like all you know what I'm talking about. I'm all over the string. I can't but if I'm sitting at home watching TV or on the computer and just noodling around a little bit and all that, that's the string. But they do not have the attack. They don't have the tone. They don't have sustain. They don't have anything. You got to have a 12 or a 13 in order to get the sound.
Yeah, I mean, I actually, for a while, what I was doing is I would buy the Tomastic set and I would put a 14 for the first string. I'd have to order the
Yeah.
strings and then just the
Well,
14.
it's like Pat Martino. I mean, his top string was what was that, a 16 or an 18 or something like that? I mean,
Very heavy. Yeah,
but
it
the
was
rest of the strings were not, that was the outlier, the two top strings were really quite heavy, but the rest of the set was not anything crazy, you know.
well, I mean, like a lot of players, like I like the melody. I like to be able to grab the melody and it's nice and thick, and then you hit the chord, and then while you're holding the melody, and then
Yeah.
the chord won't be overpower. It won't overpower your melody.
Well,
That's what I use it for.
yeah, no, well, whatever you're doing it really well.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. It's
Well,
a
listen,
labor.
man. We've been at this more over an hour and 13
Wow.
minutes or so. We had about 18 minutes of trying to get it together, so we've been about an hour. The new record is called.
The new record is called Essential Jazz Guitar. That's the one that's out right now. The one that with Pat Bianchi, I haven't even started the mixing. I'll be starting the mixing probably later this month, and that'll come out sometime next year. And I don't have a title for it yet.
Well, Essential Jazz Guitar is a phenomenal record. It really is, and I highly recommend that fans of this music jump on it. I mean, just you really need to put this in your playlist and listen to it a lot. I mean, your playing is exemplary in this thing, and it's you do a whole bunch of sneaky shit in there, man. I'm gonna tell you, I heard some lines in places I just didn't expect them to be there, and just I mean, it was just the tone is great, the sound is great, your playing is great. Everything about it, it's a fine record. And we are talking earlier about the tour. I really hope you can get out and get an agent or get a booking promoter or somebody to jump on this and get you out there because you deserve it. I mean,
I would like to. I would like that in the
you're
band.
one
I
of the
mean,
you're one of the hardest working guys in showbiz. You know everybody. You played with everybody. You go to a show and like we go to the Rocky Mountain Art Shop Festival, and I mean you're connected, and you not only play this music, but you're friends with everybody. You promote the thing. You're a great ambassador for the genre. Um, I mean, you're kind of a one of a kind in that world, buddy. You really do. I mean, you know everybody, and everybody loves you, and you play your ass off. And
thank you.
it's the funny thing about it is a lot of guys that are really good at promoting themselves or good at networking and all that are usually not, their playing is good, but they're not, the guys that are like really, really good have a tendency to they're just a little bit more introverted. They let the guitar talk for them, and they don't. But you're not like that. I mean, you're gregarious. You get out there and you get it going, and you're really a tremendous ambassador for the genre, like I said, and you deserve this record, and this is no bullshit. This record deserves to be heard on its own. Forget Ted Ludwig, the person, or the guy that everybody knows and everybody likes and has promotes the guitars and all that. This is a great record. It's just a great record, and it deserves to be listened to. And you deserve to have a tour. You deserve to be out there, and people need to go and listen to this music. And maybe put on your artist face, where you're a little bit more sullen, a little bit more serious, and all that kind of stuff. But that's not you. But you,
I'm a big teddy bear.
yeah, I know you are. And but the thing is that um, your playing is, it's second to none. I mean, you got it going on. Steve should be very proud of you. You know,
Oh,
uh, because you got it going
yeah.
on, and you take every bit of this music you take seriously. I mean, everything from the strings to the guitars to the this to the that to the relationships you formed. I'm proud that we're going to throw you on the cover of the magazine this coming month, and I'm glad that you were
I'm
around.
very flattered.
Yeah, I'm glad that you were around to do this, and I'm really happy for you. I really want this to do well. So if there's anything that I can do, I don't know what that would be.
We're doing it right now. We're
Yeah.
we're we're talking it up
If
and
there's
letting
anything
people know
anything that
about it.
I can do beyond that, even, I really would like to see you have a lot of success with this because it really, really deserves it. So,
Well, and I appreciate everything you do, Bob.
yeah.
Trying to get people, like trying to to tell people about the players and the music and the instruments and everything. You're doing a beautiful
Well,
job.
thank you. We're small, but we're mighty. I like to tell people I'm a big fish in a puddle. Um, and I will say this, it grows every month. The magazine grows every month, but we need your help out there. If you like the content, you want us to do more of this stuff, please like, share, follow. Go on YouTube and like, share, follow because it makes a difference. The more people that ring those bells and share and like and all that kind of stuff, the more the algorithm recommends us to other people and expands the genre. So it's not only helping us, it's helping this genre when you share it, when you like it, when you do all that stuff. It's not there's nobody sitting there watching it. It's all algorithm. And the amount of people that do that, it says, "Oh, this is getting pretty popular. We're going to recommend this to this group of people." And and it helps everybody. It helps everybody if you do that. We're not here for the money, folks. We're here for you guys and girls, and we do appreciate it. So, like, share, follow, uh, support Ted. He deserves it. And Bob Bakert with Ted Ludwig saying goodbye for Jazz Guitar Today. I'd like to point out my buddy Joe Perry that puts all this stuff together. And
Thank you, Joe.
let
Thank
him
you.
know. And also, I'd like I'd love to shout out Joe Barth because he does a tremendous job doing a lot of written interviews where he asks people questions, and he did a tremendous contribution. There's a lot of other players out there that do a lot of things for us, so we do appreciate it. Take care, Ted. Good luck
All
with this.
right.
All
Thank you
right, man.
so much, Bob.
All
Thanks
right,
for
buddy.
everything.
All right. Bye bye now.
Bye bye.